Today we're going to field strip or disassemble and clean, lubricate, and reassemble the SIG P365 XL. This will work the same for a standard P365 as well. First, as usual, we need to unload, verify that there's no ammunition in the area, no ammo in the gun. Now that we have the slide lock back, we're going to rotate the takedown lever, move the slide to the rear, release the slide stop, and now we can push the slide right off the front of the gun, flip it over, remove the recoil spring and guide rod, press up the barrel, pull the barrel out. Alright, all we're going to use today for the cleaning process, we're going to use CLP Cleaner, Lubricant, and Protectant. This is original gun oil. I like to use this. It's non-toxic, doesn't have a smell to it, don't have to worry about getting it on my fingers. We're going to use a Boresnake to clean the inside of the barrel. This is a Hoppe's 9mm 357 or 380 Boresnake. If your gun is extremely dirty, has a whole lot of carbon buildup, you might want to opt for Hoppe's number 9, which is a good bore cleaning solvent. I like to put it in a dispenser so I can just dole out as much as I need, and then it keeps the rest from getting contaminated. We're going to use cotton swabs. I like to use these. They have a pointy end and a flat end so you can get into different areas inside the gun, and a whole bunch of cotton rags. These are just an old cut up t-shirt. And this is a gun brush with a small brush and a large brush on it. So that's all you really need to do a good cleaning on your SIG P365. Just like cleaning any other semi-automatic firearm, we just want to clean off any dirt and grime, any carbon buildup, so the pistol continues to function optimally. Lubricate it lightly and put it back together. So it's pretty simple. I get some original gun oil. A CLP is recommended by SIG in the user manual. We want to brush this on the dirty surfaces, let it sit for a little bit, and then wipe everything off. And then we're going to lubricate it a little bit and put it back together. So we're going to get some swabs ready to go. So I like to start with the barrel. Reason being, we're going to let it soak for the longest because the barrel is going to be the dirtiest. So I take a few drops, put it down each side of the barrel, and then I just take a swab just to kind of spread it around so it's all inside the barrel. I'm just going to let it sit for a few minutes. Next, I'm going to take the slide, and I want to get some cleaning oil in here. So a couple ways to do that. I could just put some drops in here in a couple spots and spread it around with a brush. Optionally, you could put a few drops on the brush and just spread it directly onto the slide that way. There's one place you do not want to get oil. You don't want to get oil down in the firing pin hole. Right there, and you don't want to get too much oil down here. So that's where the firing pin moves back and forth, and you want that to be free. If you get a little bit of oil in there, that might slow down the firing pin and cause the gun not to fire. So just be careful not to get oil down in there. So spread a little oil in there. Then I take a brush and just kind of spread it, or just kind of spread the oil around, just so it kind of gets in the dirtiest places. You can get a little bit on this breech face, but you don't want to drip anything down in there. Anywhere you see that it's dirty, just get a little oil on there. After it's got a little coating of oil everywhere, let it sit for a little bit, and then we're going to come back and clean it up. Same thing on the recoil spring and guide rod. I would just put a drop on a brush and then just kind of brush it. This isn't going to be too dirty, so just kind of brush it off. Make sure it's clean. Let that sit a little. Frame, we're going to do the same kind of thing. Maybe a drop here, a drop here, a couple of drops in the top. You don't need too much, and then just kind of spread it around. Get down inside with the small end. And then we're just going to let that sit for a few. Alright, after it's been a few minutes, I'm going to take a rag, clean the slide. So I just wipe down as best you can like this. To get into the nooks and crannies, just take the cloth and put it over top, then take the brush. We'll push the cotton cloth down into those little crevices and help clean it up that way. Basically, we're just wiping off all the oil we put in there that loosened the dirt. Get the dirt off. You want to especially get into the slide cuts, into these grooves that run all along both sides. Right, get as best you can with the cloth, and then to get any final cleaning done, you can use a cotton swab. I like these ones with the points on the one end. They fit real good into these slide cuts. That way you can get all the dirt out of these grooves. Make sure you clean this breech face. Make sure that's nice and shiny if possible. Then just continue to wipe every little area as best you can with your cotton swabs until you're satisfied. Alright, one important area to get is right under this little notch here. That's the ejector. This little notch grabs onto the back of your brass and pulls it out of the barrel after each shot. So it's very important that there's nothing under there and it's nice and clean. Alright, when you're done, make sure you get all the little bits of cotton off of there. Any little pieces of the cotton swab that may have come off. Alright, next we're just going to wipe down the recoil spring guide rod. Just wipe this down good. You can get in the grooves a little bit, same way, just use the brush. Use the brush to kind of get in those grooves. Alright, and get that clean. Now the frame, same kind of thing, wipe it down with the rag. Then use your brush to get in the grooves. I like to push cloth through the grip, get anything out of the grip. Alright, and then finish your cleaning with the cotton swabs. Get it as clean as you can. Alright, that's nice and clean. Now, cleaning the inside of the barrel, there are several ways to do it. So I started by putting some oil in here to get it nice and clean. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take a Boresnake and run it through here. Alright, to use the Boresnake, take it out of the container. A Boresnake is basically this long thing here of material. It's got copper brushes built into it, and this is the Viper version. It's a little bit longer and more thorough than the standard version. And all we're going to do, we already have some gun oil that's been sitting in here for a little while, so we're just going to pull this through the barrel a couple of times. The brushes are going to scrape it, and then all this material acts like a whole bunch of patches going through there, and it's going to clean it real good. So just run it through a couple of times. That's usually all you need. 2 or 3 times and that barrel's going to come up nice and clean. And then you're done with the barrel. If your barrel is really, really dirty, or you haven't cleaned it in a long time and you really want to give it a really super good cleaning, you're going to want to get something like Hoppy's number 9, which is a gun bore cleaner. It's a solvent. It's a little more aggressive than your gun oil is as far as cleaning. I like to put it in a Menda pump dispenser. You can pump up as much as you need, and it keeps the main amount from getting contaminated with dirt. So what I will do is, you want to get the rod and patch method. So this is a rod. It's got a jag on the end. There's different kind of jags. There's some with a loop in there. They're easy to use. So what I will do is take a patch, which is appropriately sized for 9mm, which is what we're working with, which is about 2 inches by 2 inches, square cotton patch. Soak it real good in solvent. Push it through a little bit slow, just to coat the inside with solvent. So now we're going to just let it sit for a little bit, let that solvent do its work. Then in the meantime, get a copper or bronze brush, which will come in any gun cleaning kit. Put that on the end of your rod, and after this has been sitting for a few minutes, take the brush, push the brush through a couple times back and forth, and that, along with the solvent, is really going to loosen up the dirt. And there. After you do that a couple of times, put your jag back on. And start pushing some more solvent patches through there. Basically keep doing that until the patches come out pretty clean. And see, that got even more dirt. That brush really loosened up some more dirt. So you do that. I would push through 2 or 3. I would push through 2 or 3 patches with solvent on them. Yeah, that's a lot cleaner already. And then start pushing dry patches through. And that's going to clean up the barrel real nice. Oh, that's pretty clean already. So just put a couple more through until it's clean. Yeah. And that's pretty clean. So now the inside of the barrel is real nice and clean. At this point, you want to get all that solvent off, get all the residue off that came through. Make sure you get this feed ramp nice and clean. Alright, it looks pretty shiny. Alright, now we're done with the barrel. Now we have all the pieces cleaned. It's time to lubricate. So let's start with the slide. So what we're going to do to lubricate the slide, we're just going to take some original gun oil or your oil of choice, put a couple drops on a cloth, and we're just going to kind of wipe a little bit of lube down in here and along the slide cuts on the sides. The slide moves back and forth. And it doesn't hurt to get a little bit of lube on the outside. I would just wipe it down and then kind of wipe it off. This is more to help kind of as a rust preventative, corrosion preventative. Just a little bit on the outside. You don't want it to be slippery. Alright, that's about all you need for the slide. You definitely do not want to get any oil into the firing pin hole in there. You don't want to get any oil down in here where the firing pin moves back and forth. Alright, set that aside. On the frame, I would put one tiny little drop on that rail, one little drop here, and just kind of smear that from one end to the other. Don't need much at all right there. I would put one drop down in the workings here, a very small drop. Wipe away any excess. Just want to get a little bit in there. That's about it. Definitely don't need too much lube. And the manual says to wipe down the recoil spring and guide rod with a little bit of oil, so I'd put it on a rag. Just a small amount. And just a very, very light coating. Just to keep everything a little bit protected. If you're going to take this gun and store it for a while, what you want to do is put a couple of drops on a patch like that and just push that slowly through the barrel. You just want to get a very light coat of oil in the inside of the barrel if you're going to store it for a while, just to prevent corrosion. And then when you do go to shoot it, or if you're going to start carrying the gun, take a dry patch before you shoot it and push that through, just so there's no buildup in there of oil and dirt of any kind if it's been stored for a while. And lastly, you just want to lightly coat the exterior of the barrel, the entire barrel, with a very light coat of oil. Okay, to reassemble the SIG P365, simply take the slide, place the barrel in like that, make sure it's all the way back, take the recoil spring and guide rod, squeeze that so that it ends up looking like that, right in the middle. Alright, and now before we put the slide onto the frame, two things you want to check. One, you want to make sure that this lever is pointed down just like this. It's possible after cleaning that it's stuck in this position and it won't come down. So to get it to come down, just press the slide stop up and bring it down. And bring it down like that. Make sure it's in the down position. Also, there's a small lever in here. This lever here could potentially be up like that. If it's up like that, the slide's not going to go on properly. So if it's up, just make sure it's down. Alright. Now another quirky thing about the P365, line up the slide with the rails on the frame. When you go all the way back with it, press the slide stop up. Now it's possible that your takedown lever will also snap back into place, in which case you're done, everything's back together. The other thing I've seen happen is when you put the slide on, hold it back, and put the slide stop in place like that. Now what I've seen happen is when you flick this switch, it also pulls the slide stop lever down and the gun will snap closed. So that's okay, but it's going to scare the bejesus out of you, and if your hand's in the way, you might get pinched. So be careful about that. Okay, one thing you could do to prevent that from happening is when you put the slide all the way back, when you lock it in place, grab a hold of the gun tightly like this when you snap that into place, and then this will pop down, and now just slowly release the slide to go forward. So that's another way to do it. Alright, now that it's back together, we can just run the slide a few times, make sure it feels right, wipe off any excess oil on the outside of the gun. And as far as disassembling and cleaning the magazine, I'm going to have a video for that. I'll link it up in the corner, and I'll link it down in the description. Also, after you're done reassembling your P365, you should go through a quick function and safety check. I'll link that up in the corner, and also leave a link down in the description below. If you like this video, please hit like below, please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. All the items used in the video can be found at the links below.